everyone, and good morning, and welcome to Developer Chat for October 24th. I'm Will Hungerford, one of the developers here at Privateer Press, and with me is my comrade, my brother-in-arms, one of the most succulent and wonderful people you've ever met in your life, Will Pagani, also a developer here at Privateer Press.
Hello.
How you doing
today?
Did you
know that this is the anniversary of the 1000th Developer Chat?
I didn't.
That is a bold-faced lie.
And so if you're not sure what you're watching, let me go through the quick rundown. Here at Privateer Press, we make awesome games, and we like to talk about them. We stream 3 times a week. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, always at 10 a.m. Pacific. Tuesdays is the weekly Rumble, where we get together and play the games that we make. We did Arcanist with the new expansion yesterday. We've been doing Level 7 Omega Protocol before that to sort of celebrate the Kickstarter. Wednesdays is Developer Chat, which is what you're watching now. Typically, we talk about what's going on in the CID process, but we sometimes talk about different things, like we will be doing today. And Thursdays is my personal favorite show. It's Get Your Paint On with Dallas Kemp. Dallas paints models, puts them together, does cool conversions, and he talks to you about hobby tips and tricks. So we are live right now at twitch.tv/privateerpress. And you can catch these videos later if you want on YouTube. They all go up on YouTube at youtube.com/privateerpressprime. Like I said, we are live, so you're going to see us looking off to the side and basically saying people's usernames and questions. Chat is being real spicy right now, so hey chat, how you doing? There's some interesting comments going on.
And chat did mention that the color looks a little different from normal. That is because we are using a different set of cameras. All of our fancy cameras are being shipped to Warmachine Weekend for live streaming,
which we will be at next week. Myself, you,
Mm-hmm.
Dallas, Oz, JR, Tony, and Lyle. We're all going to Warmachine Weekend, so come by and see us. We'll have the store open.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we're going to be talking about a model that's going to be at the store, and we're actually going to spoil him in his entirety. You can't see this.
I'm going to read the tactical tips.
It says,
too,
under Chief Meyer.
Oz isn't here, so I have to
No, don't put it up yet, John.
No, it's too early.
Oh, John ruined the entire thing. All right, well, let's talk about Meyer now. Or let's not. No, it's too late now, John. You put it up. Throw it back up there.
You were talking and saying they couldn't see it, so joke's on you.
You got to taunt chat, John. That's the whole point of this.
So let's talk about Meyer.
Great. His name is Under Chief Meyer?
His name is Under Chief Meyer.
Yeah.
This is going to be the Warmachine Weekend exclusive model, but he'll also be on the online store.
So
And
this is a promo model that comes with 3 pins. So what happened with this model is this was the winner of the Company of Iron, Forge Your Company of Iron promotion that we ran. And what that was is people got to paint their own Company of Iron. They would mod them up, paint them all up, and submit a story with them to kind of tell the story of what their company was doing. And we liked the Croak one based around Croak Hunters, Croak Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
It actually even had a splatter bore in it that was converted into this weird frog thing that looked really, really cool. So that was the favorite one around the office. So that's the one that got picked. And originally we were going to do an alternate sculpt for the model that was the one originally in the set.
that was based off his conversion.
Correct, yes. So that was going to be a Croak Hunter. And then we decided that, hey, we could just make this guy a Lesser Warlock.
Yeah.
And it would be pretty sweet.
He's spicy as hell.
So that's how we came on to Under Chief Meyer here, because he had the Warbeast controller card, so he was able to he was able to take this the splatter bore, which isn't at all represented in this. But we kind of got there with the limited battle group thing, which we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah.
So you go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is a super exciting model because it's the first non-character Lesser that we're seeing come out of Minions, you know. And first thing you're going to notice when you look at the card is he can take Swamp Trolls. So, well, you're going to notice 2 things. 1, he makes clouds, and 2, he can take Swamp Trolls.
Yes.
We'll talk about the differences, but he can take Swamp Trolls. So now Swamp Trolls are available in Minions. He's usable in Blindwater Congregation and will work for food, where he can be a free model in both. He's also works for every single faction for Hordes, aside from Grimkin. I'm sorry. He doesn't work for Grimkin. So now we're looking at being able to take a Swamp Troll. Obviously, you can take it in Trolls anyway, but you can take them in Scorn, Legion, and Circle, and also just have 2 Caustic Mists a turn. This guy brings just a great utility to a ton of different themes. I mean, you know, how often have you wanted to be able to protect a key model or maybe your caster, and being able to set up just those 2 line of sight blocking clouds is going to be incredibly powerful. He also has a Tune Spirit. So for Minions players, a free Rage, if you decide to put a Wrestler on him,
It's pretty good.
is amazing. And his other main spell he has is Wield Secrets, which is Friendly Faction. It's only going to work on the Minions models. But Wield Secrets in Blindwater is going to be
It's very strong.
awesome. Like throwing that on your posse, Raiders, anything else that you might want to have, those abilities is going to be great. So let's just go through everything.
Sure. I mean, he's pretty quick. Speed 6,
Yep.
great. Mat 8, nope, 6. I can't see anything. I'm literally going blind and need glasses.
Fury 4.
Fury 4, Def 13, Arm 14. Not super great defensive stats, but once again, he's got Prowl and Attuned Spirit. So if you take a, say, Swamp Troll that has Swarm as an animus, he gains Stealth when you cast it for free.
He's
so that's
also
pretty
immune
cool.
to corrosion, so with the Caustic Mist, he can walk in the cloud if he wanted to and not
I don't
take
know
any
why he
damage.
would, but yes.
Yeah, it's an option for who knows why, but it's possible.
Yep. Amphibious, of course. Pathfinder, great. The Lesser Warlock rule that gives him all the stuff that he needs there. Limited battle group, you get all the Gatorman War Beasts, and of course Swamp Trolls, which we just talked about. And Caustic Mist, I think, is, and then his Spear, sorry, which has poison. So he's not like a chump in melee, right?
I mean, he's Mat 6 with 4 Fury for buying, boosting, and with Pal 10 Spear with range 2. Like, that's a
like he
sturdy
can,
little combat solo.
He
I mean,
can
he's
go
not
punch. He can go punch a light to death or something.
Yeah.
Like if he needs to.
Yeah.
So, I like it. I like it a lot. And then of course Caustic Mist I think is the big one here, right? Like it gives a lot of factions access to just a couple clouds that they can use very well. I personally love this guy in Circle. Like I love using it to trigger Prowl on my Stalkers and stuff, or just blocking line of sight to things.
Yeah.
Of course, right? Like that's a big Circle thing that I do a lot. Is using like a Swamp Gobber Cloud, and then this guy gives you a lot of coverage, so you can block line of sight to your War Beasts if they sprint back or things like that. So
yeah, Meyer's just a very exciting model that has a ton of utility in every faction that can take him, and in minions he's just going to be even more amazing. I'm really excited to add him to my Blind Water. Like we don't have the model to show off right now, but I've seen the painted version in the studio. I think he'll probably get previewed soon, but if he doesn't, he is going to be at Warmachine Weekend, everybody. So make sure you come by Warmachine Weekend. And like you said, that package comes with 3 special pins.
yes, one for each of the three runner-ups. So it was the the hot shots. Great. Okay, so hot shots are the winners. John's telling us here because he doesn't have a mic today. The Depths Delvers, which was the mining dwarven high shield guys.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Super beautiful models. Got little candles on their hats.
Yeah.
It's great. Love it.
And then there was a Protector at 1.
Which John is pulling up now.
Yeah.
But they will all come with a pin inside of this Meyer box set. So you'll get to commemorate the launch of Company of Iron with us.
Yep. So Warmachine Weekend, he's available. He'll also be on the online store during Warmachine Weekend, so make sure you go to store.privateerpress.com. You'll be able to pick him up then. That kit also comes with the pins, I do believe. Yep. And of course,
At Warmachine Weekend and online.
yeah. And there'll also be a lot more stuff at Warmachine Weekend. We're going to have several very exciting pre-release models. So if you're going to be nearby, come check it out. The pre-release models will not be on the online store as well. Those will only be at Warmachine Weekend. But Meyer will be available to everyone. Real fast, question I get a lot on Facebook that people message me with is regarding the tournament legality of models that are released online in this sort of way. So just so everyone knows, and if it ever comes up and somebody asks you in your local meta, when a model is publicly available to everyone, when you can, it either shows up in stores or you can all order it at the same time, like Meyer, he's globally available, that is its general release, and that is when it is available to everyone to start playing a Steamroller. So let's say Iona pre-released at Warmachine Weekend, but wasn't on the online store. Iona would not be public release legal for Steamrollers outside of any events held at Warmachine Weekend because the rules say you can play with the ones released at the show. Meyer, which will be at Warmachine Weekend physically and will also be available on the online store because anyone in the world could get Meyer and it's not like exclusive in any way. That is his general release. So the second your Meyer comes in, bring him to your local Steamroller, go play him. He's legal right then.
And just for clarity, Meyer is not exclusive at all, just the pins.
Yeah.
Meyer will be available for general release.
And because of those you can't heard, I'm great today. Can't hear what John just said. Meyer is not an exclusive, so he will be available later individually.
Yes.
The current only exclusive part of him is the pins that come with him.
Yep.
So in the future releases, he will not come with those pins.
Sure. Now, I see some questions in the chat right now asking about what else is going to be at Warmachine Weekend in terms of pre-releases. We can't give that information just yet. So sorry, everybody. You'll be finding out very, very soon. But the only thing we really wanted to talk about was Meyer.
As far as the pre-releases go.
Yep. Now, we kind of jumped ahead.
We did.
The other thing I want to talk about before we get into the main topic today is the new mini crate that just went up.
Yep.
So if you don't know about mini crate, it is our miniature subscription service. Every month we put out a new awesome resculpt or new like unique model. Most of them or all of them have been usable for Warmachine and Hordes thus far. You can go to mini-crate.com to learn more. And the new model that came out was Butcher Claus. It's Santa Claus Butcher.
It's really cute. He's got little curlicues in his. He's got little curlicues in his beard.
And he is a giant candy cane Lola, if I'm not mistaken.
It's just a candy cane wrapped in leather. It doesn't even have an axe head on it.
He still beats people to death with it.
It's still PAL 16 Weapon Master.
Yeah. If you it's still
It's great.
It still murders the world. If you also sign up for 6 months, you get the VIP model, which shows up in your next shipment. And the VIP model right now is Alexia, Handmaiden of Death, which is the alternate Alexia 1. And yeah, easily one of the best resculpts we've ever done. So there is another way to get the Alexia 1, which we just announced. There's an insider that just went up. We're doing a Longest Night costume contest. You can go read all the rules and everything that the insider that just went up live yesterday on privateerpress.com. And basically, Longest Night is happening this month. It's an organized play event. It's a casual narrative seasonal event. It's basically a Halloween celebration. Part of it is being able to have costume contests at your local store. Well, we wanted you to do more than just have the costume contest at your local store. If you go to your store and you participate in a contest and you send us the photos of you in your store in costume, you're entered into a global event where there's some prizes, and that includes the Alexia Handmaiden of Death that you might be able to win. So make sure you go check out the Insider and read all the rules. It's pretty awesome. One last thing to make sure I mention everything that's going on with Mini Crate. For those of you that are Legend of the Five Rings fans, we did partner with Fantasy Flight Games, and we are doing a separate Mini Crate line that is going to be all Legends of the Five Rings miniatures, which are great for that RPG and just great looking models.
They're super sweet.
So mini-crate.com/L5R. You can go check that out. You have until December 5th to sign up for the first L5R Mini Crate model. You have until November 19th to sign up for Butcher Claws.
I hope it's not October.
Huh?
That already passed.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be November 19th. If it was October 19th, you got to go back in time.
Good luck.
All right, I think we've talked about all the cool news, and we spoiled Meyer and talked about him.
We actually spoiled it, too, instead of just, like, releasing the information because it went up early.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Pagani, we don't have a CID to talk about right now.
Yes, correct.
So tell us about the topic, our developer chat with the community today.
Sure. So I wanted to talk about, back when I was like a big tournament player and I did a lot of Warmachine tournaments and stuff, how I kind of went through the process of building lists.
You still are a big tournament player in my heart.
Oh.
Sorry. That noise you made.
Yes. So one of the things that I focused on when doing these things was obviously matchups, which is something that everyone's always talking about right now. And there's this large concept going around at the moment about how there are sort of answers lists and questions lists. Yeah. And personally, I always leaned towards answer lists. And I would always play double answer lists, whereas a lot of people currently will tell you that you should bring a skew list or something like that that asks a question of your opponent. And then if your opponent can answer that question, you then have an answers list that kind of is more of a generalist list going on. And I think that's a fine way to address tournament pairings and stuff, and talking about that kind of stuff is great. But personally, I always tried to go with like double answers lists. So I played a lot of like in Mark II, I played a lot of like Chromac 1, Kruger 2, right? So like Chromac 1, he had anti-magic stuff. He had great threat ranges. He was excellent against infantry, excellent against cricks. And then Kruger 2 had a lot of control that brought this kind of stuff. So if you were playing against a very aggressive list that Chromac couldn't necessarily attrition, you could then control it with Kruger. But those were both answers lists, right?
Yeah, as an example of a question list that you were, like you saw that was really popular during your time.
During my time, Runes of War was like the big one. Back when I was like super into the tournament setting and stuff. Which was just like a lot of super durable things, Rune Shapers and War Beasts and stuff.
So that everyone's on the same page. Right now, we know one of the more popular lists in the meta for Crix is the Slayer Spam.
Correct.
Right? So would you categorize Slayer Spam as a question list or an answer list?
That is definitely a question list.
Right.
It brings basically no answers. Yeah. Right. Like it has a couple guns because it has a couple Night Wretches in it normally. But then it also has a whole bunch of heavy Warjacks that are reasonably durable due to either Unyielding and Carapace or other things that different casters can bring. It's usually ran with Asphyxius 3. So that's a questions list to me.
I just wanted everybody on the watching that may be not familiar with those terms to kind of be on the same page.
Yeah,
things they may have seen in their local meta.
And then an answer list to that would be something that could beat that list. Not necessarily trivially, because I think that's one of the big things that players fall into the trap of now is they're like, well, this just crushes that, so why would I play that? That is not normally the matchup that I was looking for when I was going into tournaments and stuff. I would go for man, this can deal with Slayers. I've got at least a 50-50 into it, and then I can just play better than my opponent and win. Sure. Right? Like from the matchup perspective. Like both of the lists on paper, 50-50, I'll play better, I'll win. And that came into play because I had like hundreds of hours to practice at my game store and stuff. So like
you did run on your own.
That was great. Yeah. So that was great. But that was how I approached list building, and it's kind of how I still approach list building in playtest and stuff, right? So like I'm not a huge SKU list player because I don't like how they don't give me the tools to answer other things should I run into them. And I think if you look back through our streams a lot, and I talked about this a lot, things like the Lock and Load Iron Gauntlet finals, right? It was a bad matchup for Slayers, but Slayers got played into it because their other list was worse into it, and they didn't have enough answers to deal with the Dreamer in Grimkin. So the Slayers just kind of got run over by Dreamer because they had no answers, basically. They couldn't deal with the Gremlin Swarms. They couldn't deal with just the sheer number of heavies that had the correct damage output and the durability, essentially, to survive the Slayers. So that's why I'm not personally a huge fan of lists like that.
Sure.
Because I like to rely on player skill primarily, and then I like to have tools to be able to answer things.
So let's tie this all into kind of where we're going with this, which is, let's say you had been practicing for Warmachine Weekend to go play in the Invitational. Because Warmachine Weekend is right around the corner. We have a ton of people that have been practicing a lot. In this day and age, with CID being a constant thing going on and all the sort of the question and answers, the way you like to approach things, if you had a 6-month window to practice for a major tournament, what is the way you would approach it and advice you would give to people that would be looking to do the same?
So what I would do is I would find, we'll pick a faction, right?
Yeah. Let's say you're playing Circle again.
Sure. And then I would pick 2 casters that I like, not necessarily the ones that the internet hive mind says are the best. So like right now, if I were to do it, I'd probably sit down with Morvana 1 and Chromac 2 would be my guess, is what I would do. And I think both of those casters, especially post-CID, which is hopefully coming out pretty soon.
We've had a couple questions about that real fast in chat about when that's going live.
Yes.
We don't have an answer for you right now. It may be before Warmachine Weekend. It may not. It won't be during. I can promise you that much. But we will try to give everybody as much heads up as we can, but we don't have a firm answer for you just yet.
Yes. So like I would pick Morvana 1 and Chromac 2, and I would play Morvana 1 probably in Tharn, because I Devour's Host, because I really like her recursion with that kind of stuff, and I think she brings a lot of stuff there. Mortality is a great anti-healing spell. That's coming out in the CID, so I guess that's a spoiler. She's keeping Mortality. But yeah, and that gives you sort of an infantry-based list, so if you do run into something that hoses infantry, you can then play your Chromac 2 list, which I've played my preferred Chromac 2 list a bunch of times on stream, specifically against you a couple times, even if I remember. I will modify it a little bit after the CID, right, because I'm getting like 6 or 8 bonus points, but yeah. And then what that will do is it makes sure that both of my lists aren't answered by the same thing, which is great. And then both of those lists can answer different things. And neither one poses a hard question so that you don't ever get sort of shut out by having them have an answer to that question, right? So Morvana's not great into remove from play, but she can attrition very well. And she's very safe and doesn't get assassinated, which is fantastic. She brings a damage buff. You're playing Tharn, so you have magic weapons. Like, you can do all this kind of stuff with that. And then Call of the Wild with Chromac 2 brings a ton of very hard-hitting War Beasts. You can primal, you can stack his feet, so you can break through that Slayer armor. You can break through all those different armor SKUs, Man of War, Slayers, all that kind of stuff. And then he also brings great threat ranges, because you're speed 6, reach, you've got Hunter's Mark. Fantastic, love it, all about it, and then you can bring a little bit of durability with that list because of his feet.
Okay, so now you got the list you're going to play, and like personally for me, all I've been playing, I mean, here in the walls we play everything, right? Because we play this, but in public, I've been playing Rask and Barnabas 2, like almost nonstop. So you've got the list you want to play. How many games are you trying to get in a week if you're trying to go to a major tournament? And then there's the big question, and sort of the topic of today's chat is how do you iterate lists efficiently? So we've got the list. We know what they want to do. I play 5 games into 5 different casters, and I have my notes. What am I looking for? What am I trying to change? And how do I make those changes so I'm not just kind of getting completely off the original purpose of the list?
Okay, sure. So the answer to that I have is
well, sir, how many games a week?
So how many games a week? I would do a minimum of 2.
Okay,
is what I would say. And I would try and get them to be against different things. If you lose a game super hard against something, you should play it again. And if you can play it again immediately, that is very important. Because what it does is it lets you have very fresh in your mind what your game, evaluate what went wrong, then play it again immediately and see if there's a way that you can position your models, a way that you can approach the matchup, a way that you can approach the scenario.
Maybe your deployment needed to be completely different.
That can mitigate part of what went wrong.
Yep.
Because if what went wrong is all my models died, like that's fine.
Or you got
How
diced
did
off the
How did they
table.
die?
Yeah.
Or sure.
Yeah, who
Yeah.
knows?
If somebody rolled 1,016,000 or whatever, then you lose the game.
Okay.
That's fine.
So 2 games a week, and then that information. Now, how do we iterate efficiently? Like,
Sure. So whenever at the end of every matchup, I'll kind of do a little quick checklist, and I'm not like going line by line down my list, but like, hey, did this do stuff? Like, was this relevant? Did this help me in this matchup? Did this not help me in this matchup? Did I need this here? Did I win or lose? If I lost, the things that I didn't need, could they be things that I need? And that to me is sort of the thought process behind going through these lists. And I will always try and play at least 3 games of the list before I start changing it.
and I was about to get, so the threat to that some people might misread from that is playing a game, going through that checklist, and then making immediate changes. And then playing the next game, going through a checklist, and making immediate changes. You need to keep track of it over a series. You say 3
Correct.
games, and I think 3 to 5 is the right number of how many, and then make your tweaks and keep going. And just because you tweaked something out of a list, don't think you can't put it back in.
Sure.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that is always a viable option. You may find yourself in the 5th or 6th game that you took something out, and all of a sudden you're like, man, I really miss, you know,
Yeah.
like I didn't have room for this solo I really wanted to bring. Like I was playing Barnabas 2 without Wrong Eye and Snapjaw for a while to try a bunch of different things, and it was effective. But I really found myself as like, man, I really want Wrong Eye and Snapjaw on this
Sure.
list. So.
Sure. And yeah, and I think it's important that when you are looking at your lists, you always look at them together, not individually, right? Because, like, let's say Chromac doesn't want to run into 70 Mechanithralls or whatever, right? Because that was a list that was at Attack X that I thought was really cool. But Morvanas loves that list. So, like, I don't need to tech my Chromac list for Mechanithralls or something if I can play Morvana and Mechanithralls. And then Morvana with Mortality can also deal with Slayers and stuff, so like that's
look,
fine.
Josh Cologne has
So.
joined us in the chat.
Oh, hi, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Welcome.
Now, do you, if somebody says, I want, and this is something we can see come up, but I'm, you know, this is just your opinion. So, if someone says, I want to take all comers list, I want one list that I'm going to go into, what advice would you give that person? Would you tell them flat out, don't?
No,
Like-
I think you can totally do that.
Okay.
I think you will have better matchups and worse matchups. And I think if your list has a silver bullet type thing out there that you just can't play into, that's going to be a problem, especially if it's a popular list, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to ATC in January, and I'm talking with my team right now about matchups and stuff. And there are things like, oh man, that just gets absolutely wrecked by Sloan. I'm like, well, it's okay. Nobody's really playing Sloan right now. So we don't need to worry about that.
And the reason I brought that up is, you know, Steamroller and a lot of these other events, you can play with just one list, especially if you're a new player just getting in. And the point being is you can bring one list. Like, it's good to have 2 lists, and it's good to do, like we've been talking about, like covering each other's weaknesses. But you can make it take all comers, and you can still go compete, and you can still win, right? It's not like one list is not a viable choice for you, especially if you're getting in.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I just got called out false for people not playing Sloan. Not a ton of. It's not like the meta list where it's 40% of the tournament playing Sloan. Is what I'm talking about.
Oh, Cheddar Caveman calling you out on that?
Calling me out. Rude.
So, so that's how we iterate. What's the biggest takeaway? Like, at what point do you ever say a list is done?
No.
Okay.
List is never done.
When do you feel comfortable saying that that is the list you're going to bring to the tournament? Is it literally up to the wire, or do you think there's a point where you can be, I'm good, let's go?
For me personally, it was always up to the wire.
Yeah.
Like I would make sometimes small little changes in my lists, honestly based on who showed up to the tournament sometimes.
Yeah.
In terms of like the big national tournaments, right? Like if I knew a Jake was going to be there or Jason Watt or something like that, I would be like, oh man, I need to get my Scorn stuff ready for Watt. So I'd be like, cool, here's, because Scorn was a particularly hard matchup for Circle and Mark II. So yeah.
And that's
I
a
would
whole
always kinda
separate
check
dev
that.
chat, by the way. Reading the meta.
Yes.
Like, reading the meta is a big deal, and it is a major part of going to play to like the high-end competitive events. So, are you excited about Warmachine Weekend?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I blanked out and I was like, oh my god, all the things I'm gonna do.
If you'd been like no and just slapped the mic off the table and just walked off.
No, I'm really excited. I'm excited for a lot of things. One, I plan on bringing the Hunt the Beast scenario again that I did last year.
Yep.
Which is from a no quarter, specifically the Northkin no quarter prime, because we had way too much fun playing that after hours, and I plan on doing that again. Issue number 2 of no quarter prime.
I'm bringing my army
that. Yeah,
to go play games with people.
I'm currently debating between bringing my Crucible Guard or my Grimkin, because it's very likely that I'm going to be playing Grimkin at ATC.
Yeah.
Because Jay stole Crucible Guard from me. So I can get some practice games in.
He stole your army from you, and he's taking me to PF Chang's at Warmachine Weekend. Jay.
Everyone loses.
Jay.
Yes.
So you're probably gonna bring your Grimkin?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I'm really working on this child list right now that I really like.
Cool.
So.
Yeah. I'm not going to say what I'm playing because I'll probably be playing Tim Simpson on the stream, and I don't want to give him any hints. It will be Gators, probably, unless I'm lying to you right now and bringing something out of the blue that I've been practicing for a while. Throw you for a loop. You'll find out how many of your friends I've been talking to in secret.
It's Gators. He's bringing
It's definitely Gators.
because that's what he plays. He's wearing a Minions hoodie right now.
It's true.
So yeah, this we're almost out of time for the dev stream today. But if you're going to be at Warmachine Weekend, come by and see us. We'll have our armies. We'll be looking to play people. Obviously, we will also be busy because we're going to be running the store and doing live commentary at the show. John, you can confirm we are live streaming at Warmachine Weekend.
Yes, there will definitely be some stuff going on, which is why we're using alternate equipment today.
So-
because all that stuff is currently on its way to Warmachine
Oh,
Weekend.
hey, John has a microphone now.
Yep.
Kinda.
So for everybody watching, also you can catch our streams next week over the weekend. We will be live streaming and doing commentary on all the major matches at Warmachine Weekend. So you'll be watching the Invitational, several other large matches. I think we're going to also stream one of the narrative events as well, a couple staff matches. There's going to be a lot of really good stuff going on.
And you can always anticipate Dallas doing some kind of guerrilla or paint on while he's at a show.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dallas will be there painting things. Is there anything else you want to hit up before we get out of
I
here?
do want to hit a couple of people that are asking about what the next CID is
Yeah.
and or will the Merc CID, which is specifically Steelhead CID, be this year. Yes. I'm going to say yes. I haven't like 1,000% confirmed, but it should be this year for the Steelhead stuff. And honestly, I'm not sure which one's next.
Even confirm that far. You got the holidays coming up, dog.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's this year.
I would say that's our goal, but I would not confirm that far right now. I think there's a few things that have to be ironed out.
Sure. And I know Jason and I were talking about what the next CID is going to be, and it might not be Steelheads.
That's why I say I wouldn't confirm it, because I know what the conversation, like, yeah.
But it will be exciting.
It's exciting.
It's not Infernals. Don't get that excited.
No.
Yes.
Let's see if we have any other questions coming up. Here's one for that's relevant to what we're talking about. Striker911 says, how do you feel the current meta is going?
Sure. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
We continue to see all these charts coming out of Conflict Chamber. They usually have pretty good spreads of all the different factions and stuff. I think some of the factions have a little less variety in what theme forces they're playing, and that is something that I know we've been working to address for a while. Like the Circle CID, for example, was kind of pointed at some of that stuff to kind of break people out of the Bones of Ouroboros thing. Scorn, we're hoping to open up a couple of their themes. So
The spread's really good, and I'm seeing more and more people get creative. Like, there are the lists. There's like the tried and true proven lists that are doing well, but it's easy to fall into the trap of these are the only lists you can play and the only list you must play against. But we're starting to see, which is fine, right? Like, you can go be like, well, the Slayers list is doing really well, so I'm either going to play that exact list and ones that have done well, or I'm going to make sure I attack against it. But we're also seeing people get creative. They're either playing like off-meta lists, or they're just kind of dark horsing their way through things and having some like great success.
I mean, I think the power of Dark Horse lists is huge, absolutely massive. I mean, but you have to be able to put in the time to learn them properly and develop them properly, which a lot of people don't have.
And I will admit, when it comes to me, back when I was playing competitively, which was mainly Mark 1 because I started working here during Mark 2, dark horsing has always been my thing. Any game I play, that's just sort of my style. That is my preferred. Like, I want to take something that's kind of off kilter and do well with it. Chuck Ellswick was the same way, right? Him and I share that love of being weird.
It's one of my favorites as well.
Raven Fletcher in Facebook chat asks, the Trident, has anyone seen a physical copy of it yet? I have.
I have too.
Yeah. Yep.
It's the hotness.
It looks really good.
Matthew Thomas Hopkins says 3-point Doom Reavers. Yes.
Seems a bit excessive.
No, they're going to 3 points. They are picking up
18
ambush,
points.
immobile, and they are losing their fell blades.
No, 3 points each. 18-point units.
Oh, I read the wrong memo.
Yep.
My
Sorry.
My bad.
He was talking about shifting stones earlier.
Wah wah.
Friendly Troll Painter asked, this is since you're going to be playing Grimkin.
I'm
This is
so
a great question
excited.
for you. How do you feel about Grimkin and Bumpin' the Night?
I think Bump the Night is one of the most underrated things in the game right now. And I said this previously about Ghost Fleet. That was the last thing that I said this about.
Yeah, and then look what happened.
Here we are.
So what you're saying is you may understand how this game works.
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah. And yeah, we know that Patrick Dunford and several other top Grimkin players really made Menagerie very popular, having high-profile wins and high-profile stream games. And so a lot of people immediately, I mean, was it Benjamin who won a major event, was literally Dunford's list, and he had written on the name on the player sheet, Pat Dunford, and scratched it out and wrote Ben Hampshire. So, like, that list has been very popular. But yeah, Bump is not to be ignored whatsoever. Friendly Troll Player says, why do you think it's underrated?
I think it has huge positioning requirements based on the player that's playing it. Like it's very, very positional in terms of how you advance and how you move up the board and stuff. And I think that means that players need a whole heck of a lot of experience with it. I also think when it released, Infantry was not great in the meta, and it was kind of on the upswing. So Bump got overlooked a lot. I'm not sure too many people have really gone back to it and checked it out. So, also, Mad Caps are totally baller.
Hollow Holden.
Hollow Holden's also pretty sweet.
Yep.
So.
Let's see. Is there a physical model for the Well of Boros yet? Not that's
I
been
have
released.
not seen that one.
Definitely not in the public.
Yeah, not in the public.
Have you seen that one?
I've seen parts of it.
Yep.
I don't think I've seen an assembled one or anything.
All right, that looks like most of the
So.
questions that we're gonna hit right now. The chat's just talking about where the term dark horse came from.
I mean, it could totally be racist or something.
Yeah, so
and
I have
I
no
wouldn't
idea.
be surprised.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I-
For
So,
those
yeah, I have
of
no
that
idea.
are curious, just look up the etymology.
Yep, just Google it.
yep. So before we get out of here, everybody, a couple quick things. First off, John, would you put Meyer back on the screen, please? If those of you coming in late, we're going to put up the rules for Under Chief Meyer one more time, who will be at Warmachine Weekend. He will also be available at store.privateerpress.com. You can order him online, anybody in the world, while he's available at Warmachine Weekend. He'll come with the 3 special pins. There's also going to be several pre-releases at Warmachine Weekend, which we haven't spoiled yet. Those will not be available on the online store. Meyer will be the only one, and everyone, I imagine, is going to want to get their hands on Meyer. If you play Hordes, you're probably going to get Meyer.
Probably.
Chewy8 asks, where can I get a Minions hoodie? This one was made for me by In Young Wang, one of our players, and another Minions enthusiast, so I don't think these actually exist. He just made it for me because he's a wonderful human being.
But you never know. Mwahaha. Mwahaha.
Also, a reminder, mini-crate.com. You can go sign up, get your Butcher Claws right now, get the VIP model, and pick up the Alexia. And join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific with Dallas for Get Your Paint On. Do you know what Dallas is painting?
He is doing some more of the aliens from Level 7 Omega Protocol, which is a Kickstarter right now.
Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
No. I'm good.
All right.
Oh, somebody's asked about the clockatrice. It exists. It's cool. I like it, especially in Bump, actually.
I have seen some parts of that one. That one is shaping up pretty dope.
It's so cute. Why is it so cute?
All right, everybody, we're out of here. Take it easy. Have a good lunch. We will see you all tomorrow. See you all at Warmachine Weekend, too. Bye.
Later. Why is the clockatrice so cute?